And welcome to the Smoky Mountain Wrestling Rewatch Along project. Due to Arya being a dumbass, this is the second time we're doing this. And it just, like, I don't know, it feels forced for us to try to redo the intro. But it's episode number 109 of Smoky Mountain Wrestling, February 26, 1984, taped February 7th, 1984, at the Jellicoe High School in Jellicoe, Tennessee. This is Arya. That's Trae. Trae's got a new cat, everybody.
I do. I have a kitten. He is so very precious. Okay, so his name is Astro Peach, and
So,
that's a fantastic name. I am very, very good at naming cats. Do you want to know the
what?
etymology of his name, Astro Peach?
Yes, that was my next question.
Okay, so a little bit of context. The area that we live in is called Sagemont, and it's like all the streets are named Sage Valley, Sage Fair, Sage Willow. So the house that we moved into 4 years ago, I named it Sage Home after Breeze Home from Skyrim. So fast forward a few years, we buy the house across the street and two doors over, and it has a peach tree in the backyard. So I named it Sage Peach. Now, we have three cats, and I've said I would only get another cat if the cat distribution system brought me an orange boy.
The cat
And
distribution system.
the cat distribution system, yeah. Have you not heard of the cat distribution system?
I have not heard of the CDS.
It distributes cats to the cat needing people of the world. But so we had talked about getting another cat, as you know, a housewarming cat. And then one day we were just kind of kicking around names, and I was thinking we wanted specifically a boy cat because we already have three girl cats, and it's like a gang war all the time. So I was thinking, well, Peaches is a sounds like a girl's name, but to me, Peach sounded like it could have been somebody's nickname back home. Yeah, he fell out of a peach tree when he was 13, and we called him Peach ever since. And then my wife recommended Astro because of the Houston Astros. And then I thought, okay, Astro Peach, that's fantastic. And I maintain that it is fantastic. And he is a fantastic little kitten who deserves an awesome name.
So, are you telling me that your fantastic new kitten is a cheater that tries to cheat to win the World Series?
If you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Viva la raza.
Indeed. Win if
I,
you
I, I
can,
just
lose if
like
you must, but always cheat.
I just like that you dipped a toe into something sports related and just busted it wide open and you're like, uh-huh. Sure, whatever you said, buddy.
I'm thinking about becoming an Astros fan, not a baseball fan, just like, I don't know. It's just kind of fun. It's infectious. People are so into it here. My wife is kind of into it, so
Eh,
I don't know.
wait, you're telling me that it's fun to get into sports?
That's what I'm told.
Um,
I don't know. But hey, I have been
speak.
watching my little orange kitten named Astro playing with Houston Astros catnip toys that I bought him. So maybe I should watch a game sometime. I don't know.
Well, Kevin Durant is being traded to the Rockets. Maybe you'll have to go downtown to watch a Rockets game next year.
What sport is that?
I'm just speaking over your head. Well, Houston only has three teams. They got a baseball team, and you know they're the Astros. They have a football
Yes.
team, and they have a basketball team. So, and I
Okay.
told you that it was the Rockets. Based on that information, do you think he's a basketball player or a football player?
I assume they play at the Toyota Center.
Yes, they do.
Yeah,
Which
okay.
really should give you the answer.
No, I
Technically, you'd have an
I
answer.
know I
Yes.
know the football team is the Texans. That only leaves
Well,
one.
well, you didn't say that. You just knew the baseball team was the Astros. All right. Maybe I should just take it to Royal Rumble 1989 and let you suffer there.
Oh God. Oh, was that at the summit?
Yes, it was.
Oh, I every time I drive by that place, I want to vomit.
Why is that?
Because it was the Houston Summit. It was like the fucking great wrestling arena. Do you know what that building is now?
You told me, isn't it the
It is
one of the
Lakewood
mega
Church.
churches?
It is Joel
Yeah,
Osteen's mega church.
yeah. And I would normally say, well, at least the city is getting tax money out of it, but they're not.
Yeah, no.
Um, so anything news related to talk about? Oh, again, occasionally we attempt to stay out of talking about politics on this show, but JD Vance got pwned by a member of his own party. Did you see this on the Twitter machine?
Uh, what happened to Vice President Couchfucker?
So Vice President Couchfucker posted on Twitter, I wonder if other VPs had as much I'm sorry, had as much excitement as I do. And Representative Thomas Massey, who I'm led to believe is a Republican representative, um, responded, let me see here. Yes, he is a Republican representative. Um, he responded, ask Mike Pence about his last month.
Yeah. You know what? I
Uh,
I have to say I will never agree with Mike Pence about very much of anything, but I will always have the slightest tinge of respect for him for doing the right thing the one time it counted the most.
yes. And Mike Pence is an absolute scumbag that I was happy that Donald Trump didn't die for those first 4 years because Mike Pence would be much worse. But yes, he did one good
I
thing in
I
four
dispute
years.
none of this. Yes, one thing.
Yes. This is going to be one great description of the show.
Let's move
Oh,
on.
Lord.
What else do we have to talk
Yes.
about? Shall we talk about the
We're,
show or
let's
one
say we're
more?
allegedly talking about the Smoky Mountain Wrestling this week. Um, I mean, we could talk about Cody Rhodes believing he's at the tail end of his babyface run. That took him long enough, didn't it?
Oh wow, I didn't know about that. That'll be
Yeah.
interesting.
If there's anything that's gonna make AEW fans flip the lid, that could be it.
Okay,
Anyway,
okay, okay. Fantasy booking just for a second. Okay, Cena's final match is in December. Is that right?
correct.
Okay, you do Cody versus Cena with Cody as a babyface, and then at the very end, Cody kicks Cena in the balls, and he was the Rock's man all along. Or now. He's become the Rock's man. He's decided to become the Rock's man based on all this bullshit.
Okay. And then how do you handle Seth Rollins' Money in the Bank briefcase?
I
Or
throw it
you just
into the
have him
nearest
use it
river
on,
and never speak of it again.
let's say, or you have him cash in on Gunther.
And I'd cash into Gunther, lose in a minute, and never do the fucking Money in the Bank thing again.
Unfortunately, they're coming to New Orleans next year because New Orleans doesn't get WrestleMania, but they get Money in the Bank.
Oh, really? Are they doing it at the
Yeah,
Superdome?
no, no,
Oh,
God no, they're
okay.
going to do it
So
at the
the King
Smoothie King
Center.
Center. Yes,
Okay. I wondered. Okay.
they ain't that dumb. Remember when they were going to do it in the Raiders Stadium where they just had WrestleMania and like they had to quickly realize
Yeah,
that wasn't
yeah.
going to work?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
Lord. Yeah. Anywho, let's go to the intro of this week's show with Bob and Dutch.
Welcome to another exciting, action-packed hour of Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Professional wrestling the way it used to be and the way you like it. Hi, wrestling fans. I'm Bob Cole along with Dr. Dirty Dutch Mantell. And as I said, we've got an exciting hour.
Wait a minute.
What the heck? Are you want to do that again?
Yes, I'm going to do it first right now because Robbie Eagle has a streak going here in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. And I'm going to draw the next opponent for Robbie Eagle right here on Beat the Champ contest. And that name is the Hornet.
The who?
The Hornet.
The Hornet.
The Hornet is going to face Robbie Eagle right here today on Beat the Champ contest.
All right, and that's for our TV title fans. And wait a minute, Chris Candido.
Come on in here.
Yeah,
This is it. This week, last week was just a warm-up. I've traveled the world of the Hornet, the most accomplished wrestler in professional wrestling. And I got myself another $2,500. And this week, Tracy Smothers putting my money back up. We got another bet. The Hornet is my man. He'll be the new Beat the Champ TV champion today. We're going to go train. Hornet, you ready? Come on, man. Hey.
He's got him ready to. That's $2,500, by the way. Our main event is a six-man match, rock and roll, and Bobby Blaze against the Bodies and Killer Kyle. We're going to have more news about a big tour coming up in March, Golden Week 94, and that's March 10th through the 19th, kicking off with the Armstrong family in reunion at the Cobb County Civic Center in Marietta, Georgia on March 10th, Dutch.
And my special guest on Down and Dirty with Dutch today will be none other than Jim Cornette, and the Heavenly Bodies will be my special guest. Let's all give him a big hand right here.
All right, fans, we're about ready. We'll be back right after this.
Okay. So Beat the Champ is Robbie Eagle versus the Hornet? Yes.
Yeah.
I just they couldn't believe they pulled the Hornet's name out either.
That is a downgrade from Bobby Blaze versus Larry Santo.
Yes. We don't get Bobby Blaze versus El Hijo del Santo too often. In fact, do we ever get Bobby Blaze versus El Hijo del Santo? We got Robbie Eagle versus El Hijo del Santo last week.
Okay, what do you think? What do you think would be a better match? Robbie Eagle versus Larry Santo, or Robbie Eagles versus El Hijo del Santo?
We asked that last week.
Did I? Shit.
No, I asked that.
Did you?
I asked you what would be better. The match we have between Robbie Eagle and Larry Santo, 1994 Robbie Eagles versus El Hijo del Santo, or 2025 Robbie Eagles versus El Hijo del Santo.
Arya.
Great.
I have severe ADHD that I self-medicate with Iranian tobacco.
Sorry. Oh Lord.
But hey, okay, last week I do remember.
Wait. No. Time out. You're always getting on me because I don't remember like random stuff we talked about months ago. We talked about this last week, motherfucker.
Okay, well, I do remember last week that you asked me if I thought that Candido was just waiting in the locker room to grab whoever's name got drawn. And after watching this week with the Hornet, I do think that is exactly what he did.
But that locker room is like right there because he's already dragging the poor Hornet out.
Well, they're in a high school gym. Of course, it's right there.
I remember our high school locker rooms led right into the gym.
Yeah.
Now you could say, here's the thing: they could have had, to make this less corny, they could have had the intro, but Candido was just standing there by himself, and they're like, well, Chris Candido is here, so we might as well draw the Beat the Champ challenger. And
I don't think you can make SMW less corny.
Well, you can now because he doesn't own it. I guess he at least doesn't own the tape library.
That deserved a better pop than you gave me.
I'm sorry. Apparently, I've been known to no-sell Trey's jokes lately, so
Yeah,
we Anywho, we're gonna get more news on Golden Week '94 with the Armstrongs in reunion, which is not what they're doing at all.
I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
And we're gonna get that 6-man tag with the Rock and Rolls and Bobby Blaze versus the Heavenly Bodies and Killer Kyle. And from there, we saw a replay of the finish of Robbie Eagle versus El Hijo Santo from last week, and then the promo at the end of the show where Tracy Smothers asked, "How do you keep an idiot in suspense?" and walked away before Candido threw a tantrum. If you have nothing else to say, I'm going to go ahead and play the audio of Tracy telling us, "How do you keep an idiot in suspense?"
Yeah, let's hear Tracy, and then I'll tell you why I just broke out laughing.
Sounds good.
This right now here is Tracy Smothers. Tracy, at the beginning of the program this week, Chris Candido said he wants to put up another $2,500. He wants his $2,500 back.
I know he wants it back. Boy, that money sure was sweet. Hey, Chris, I heard you out here running your mouth, talking trash about how your boy, the Hornet, the greatest wrestler ever. Well, I know for a fact that he's 0 for life, man. That guy ain't won a match in his life. I got all the confidence in the world in Robbie Eagle right here, and all those things you've done to me, like throwing water on me, for instance, I've got some payback. I not only want to break your neck, I want to break your pocketbook too, big boy. My boy Robbie Eagle's going to do it today. Thank you.
All right, he's going to accept that challenge, Dan. Let's go to the ring.
You know, Tracy's a very violent person. Chris Candido threw water on him, and his response is, "I'm going to break your neck." Like that seems excessive.
I'm a little bit cross with Tracy Smothers right now.
Why are you a little bit cross with Tracy Smothers?
He's been a very difficult employee in pro wrestling sim.
Why do you say that?
Did I talk about this yesterday? The first part of this on the podcast? Okay, so you remember
you talked about the Japan Super Show.
Right. And the thing with the US tag titles, did I talk about that?
You talked about who the champions were now, but nothing else.
Okay. So I remember saying the first 3 shows are Power Hour, and then Saturday Night, and then the Super Show. And I did the Super Show first. And one of the matches that I booked on the Super Show was just for the hell of it, Tracy Smothers and Steve Armstrong, the Young Pistols, successfully defending the U.S. tag titles against a Japanese team. I think it was Super Strong Machine and Tatsutoshi Goto. And then, so I went back and booked Power Hour, and I decided to have the Young Pistols retain the U.S. tag titles over the Diamond Exchange, Diamond Dallas Page and the Diamond Stud. But I forgot to set a winner, and the game decided that DDP and the Diamond Stud should win. And then since I had already booked the other match, I had to do a rematch on Saturday night and change them back. And then I ended up having to cut their match from the Super Show anyway. That was part 1. And then, within the next week, Tracy got offered a deal from CMLL, and it wasn't worth it to outbid them. So I had to have them drop the titles again anyway. So they won them back after a day and then lost them after a week.
So how do you cut a promo in Spanish saying that I've never been to Cheyenne, Wyoming, and reckon I don't want to be there?
I'm sure he can get a dictionary. Tracy did work like a fair bit in Mexico in late 80s, early 90s.
I was ready for you to say Tracy worked a fair bit in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Like,
no, but he did wrestle in Mexico.
Oh God. I'm sure I showed that video to you. Tracy Smothers' Smoky Mountain debut, where he's swinging on the porch swing and talking about how he ain't ever been to Cheyenne, Wyoming.
But anyway, the reason that I started laughing while you were talking a while ago, was that I had glanced down in my notes about this segment, and I wrote he's happy to put the money up because the Hornet is winless, or winless. And then I just realized that I had a slip of the finger, and I wrote the Horner is winless, and I just started laughing.
So that's why you said that to me earlier. Oh Lord. So then we get our Beat the Champ TV champion Robbie Eagle versus the Hornet. Not a Hornet, but the Hornet. The tax man on Corner Gas would not be happy with that.
But not the
Um,
Green Hornet.
no. He would be a Green Hornet.
Not the Green
Um,
Hornet.
we are informed that the Thrill Seekers will be making their debut during Golden Week 94, and today we'll see video of them. Oh boy.
Boy, do we. I wrote 350 words about the Thrill Seekers.
I almost feel bad because I did not write 350 words. I wrote about 100. Um, I wrote more than I wrote about this match. Candido tried interfering again, but Tracy broke it up again. Hornet and Eagle fucked up the finish so badly that we didn't even see Candido hit Robbie Eagle. Instead, we had to look at some ugly kid, and the next thing we saw was Robbie Eagle taking a bump. Hornet then won because Candido did something to Robbie Eagle. How badly do you have to fuck up the finish for them to not even air it?
I'm just now realizing it was a fuck up. I thought it was a fuck up the other way. I thought it was a camera fuck up.
Nope.
But
nope.
no, it was, yeah, you're right. They cut away because you could not see. I wrote that Candido did something to cause Eagle to get pinned because you couldn't see what.
Yep. And it's like, I like this idea. Like, we talked about this last week. I like the idea of doing Robbie Eagle versus Larry Santo and now Robbie Eagle versus the Hornet. It adds a new dimension to the Beat the Champ, because if you're going to have them wrestle jobbers, the jobber has to occasionally win. But the issue is their jobbers are not good enough to be winning matches, or at least having matches with other jobbers. Bobby Blaze was not, to this level. Like he was obviously brought in kind of in the Sean Waltman role, to come in and be a jobber, but wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and he's gonna get a big win and get a bit of a push off of that. Robbie Eagle, the Hornet, Larry Santo, it's like they're all good to their own to what they are, but they're not good enough for the positions they've been in the last 2 weeks.
I thought it'd be funny to do you do 4 in a row with Robbie Eagle over, Larry Santo and the Hornet and the Dark Secret and the Avenger or whoever else. And then the last week it's I don't know, Prince Karras or Brian Lee or something, and he just gets massacred on the last one.
Now if you do that, would you have Robbie Eagle come out before the drawing the 5th week and be a real cocky son of a bitch? Yeah, that's right. I won 4 weeks in a row as the Beat the Champ TV champion. Really heel it up. And then he takes on White Boy, or he takes on Tracy, or he takes on a baby face in this situation.
Yeah. I guess so. If I was wanting to turn him heel, that'd be a good way to do it.
I mean, here's the thing. The jobbers in this show, by and large, they're not babyface or heels, because Robbie Eagle has been on the heel side. It's situational.
Yeah. Well, with the benefit of hindsight, we know that Robbie Eagle does have some personality and can be an entertaining heel character. I thought the Maestro was pretty entertaining.
I hear he plays a pretty mean piano.
Yeah.
Ryan Shamrock was impressed.
Oh, yes, he was.
And she's normally only into her brother. Oh, Lord. By the way, my car is parked right outside my house today, and usually it's down the street a bit, so now I'm paranoid that I can hear dumbasses outside racing down the street because, my car's right there.
I took my car into the shop this morning, and then I don't know, I've been there enough that I halfway expected them to not to get to it today. I was like prepared to not have it tomorrow, but the guy told me that he would call me back this morning, and they didn't call back at all. So hopefully they still have my car.
Hopefully, hopefully it's not,
Yeah,
a whatchamacallit. Oh my God, what the hell's
yeah.
that stupid movie called in the 80s? In Chicago. Um, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Jesus Christ, how did I forget that? Hopefully it's not a Ferris Bueller's Day Off thing where they just took your car and are driving it all over the place to run up the mileage.
Yeah, somebody's joyriding in my Toyota Camry.
Hey, to some people that's a hell of a car. If you have a
Well,
Ford Pinto, Toyota Camry is quite the step up.
well, if they do, I hope that they are blasting the air conditioner and it goes out because that's what it's there for.
Um, all right. I know we don't usually talk about the local promos, but Tammy's local promo was tremendous.
Yes,
Normally,
yes, it was. Oh, I'm
normally they
glad you said
nor,
so.
normally these local promos, like two or three people come in and they each cut like 30 seconds or whatever. Tammy basically took up a minute by herself, just throwing a temper tantrum about having to wrestle the dirty white girl.
It it was she was just frantic and terrified. It was fantastic.
Yes. Oh Lord. Well, it's time, Trey. Let's go to
Oh
a
boy.
special. Let's go to a special look at Thrill Seekers. Just the first couple seconds where Lance and Chris introduce it, because we don't need this show pulled for copyright infringement.
We are Thrill Seekers in Tennessee. We've been wanting to wrestle in the United States for a long time now, and now we're this close to actually getting started. But before we get into the business of hard time wrestling, it's time to let off a little bit of steam and go have a little bit of fun. It's time for the Thrill Seekers to hit Tennessee and to go and show everybody that we're going to rock America.
Oh Lord. Jericho's always been a bit of a cornball, you
It's
know.
it's so weird because like that is clearly Chris Jericho. I don't mean just in the looks, like as far as what he does and the way he speaks, like it is clearly Chris Jericho, but there is something that's not there yet.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
needs that WCW run, that WCW heel run to really
Yeah.
bring out that personality. Now, this music
Yeah.
video, and I just kind of realized because I'm going from, the end of that to the next promo segment, it is almost 5 minutes long.
It
Um,
is. And I watched it
and
twice.
I technically did too, but for a different reason, probably. I was kind of slouching on my recliner watching, but I was getting hot as hell, so I wanted to take off my bra. So I kind of scooted up to take off my shirt, and I knocked off my Xbox controller because I was watching it on my Xbox, and I hit the button to back out, and so I had to go back in and rewatch it. Um, yeah.
Okay,
I'm pretty
okay.
certain everybody has seen this first video. Because I'm
Well, if anybody hasn't, I have a treat for you and the listener. I am gonna go through this son of a bitch scene by scene.
the Thrill Seekers are coming to Rock America, and that is the song that they play as Rock America.
Rock America by Danger Danger. So first they showed the press conference from last week, and then they showed the thing in the woods that we played. And now they're at an amusement park, and I did not realize, maybe it said it in the video, but I didn't realize until I looked at Jericho's book. This was Dollywood.
Really?
Yes, that's what Jericho
I'll,
said in
I'll
his
be hon-
book.
I'll be honest, I haven't read his book in a while.
Yeah, I just
So
looked at it today just to see this section. But yeah, okay, so they're at Dollywood, and they're riding bumper cars and they're roller skating, and then they're at the Three Bears gift shop, and you can see live bears. And Lance spooks Jericho with a teddy bear, and Jericho oversells it to a comical degree because he's clearly Chris Jericho even now. And then they're throwing chips or whatever down, and a bear's catching them in his mouth, and then Lance is throwing them down to Jericho, and Jericho's trying to catch him in his mouth. And to his credit, he got 1 out of 3.
Yeah. I wonder how many they threw until they got one of Jericho catching one.
I wonder. And then they're at an arcade playing skee ball, and I had to figure out what wrestling arcade game this was. So I asked on Twitter, knowing that some freak would know. It is The Main Event from 1988, or as it is known in Japan, Ringu no Oja, or King of the Ring.
Now,
Anyway.
which dork told us what it was?
Oh,
probably
I think
give-
it is my good
Okay.
buddy. I think his name is They Live 316 or something. I think so.
Okay, you keep going, I'll
Yeah.
find it.
Anyway, so it's they're on one of those arcade games where you actually sit on the motorcycle and ride it, and Jericho stands up on the seat and rides it. And then Jericho's arm wrestling a mechanical arm, and they cheated. Lance helped him beat it. And then there's like a weird bit where Jericho's making eyes at like a sexy robot, and Lance comes up, and then Jericho tells him to go away, like he's trying to, like Lance is gonna ruin his chances with the drawing of like a painting of a robot on a wall. And then they're doing the how hard can you punch game, and then they're outside throwing snowballs, and then like the thing with the big inflatable gimmicks with the Velcro wall, and you wear a Velcro bodysuit and jump up on it, and they're jumping on each other. And then they're playing whack-a-mole, and Jericho wins, and Storm whacks him on the head. They go to get their prizes, and Lance gets a little Scooby-Doo, and then Jericho gets a much larger Scooby-Doo. Then they go bungee jumping. Jericho roundhouse kicks the punching bag. And then, so they're going to go on a helicopter ride. And Jericho is being a douche and making faces and rolling his eyes at the guy who's giving them instructions. And then when they land, Lance is fine, and Jericho is all like discombobulated and nauseous because he didn't listen to the safety instructions. And then they go horseback riding. Jericho feeds a goat, and then we get a chyron that reads, "The Thrill Seekers will rock America."
See, I read that a little bit differently than you did. With
Okay.
at least with the whatchamacallit, the helicopter thing. I looked at it as the guy turned around while Jericho was asking a question, and he's like, "Oh, okay, whatever."
No, because he was like, first of all, there's two different scenes. In the first one, he's like making the mouth noise, like when the guy's back is turned, and then in the next, he did something else in the next scene. But like, they made it clear that it was Jericho being a dick, I thought.
I'm gonna punch my friend Matt in the face, by the way,
Why?
because he messaged me saying Henry Winkler died, and I'm like, no, he like where the hell did you see this? Because he's not on social media at all, and I'm like looking all over. I'm like, I don't see anything about Henry Winkler dying. Henry Winkler died in the movie Scream.
Yes, he did. One of my favorite movies.
Like, I'm gonna kick your ass. Um, that's why I was a little distracted there. Okay. So they're baby faces, so they like to have fun. This is, WWF mid 2010s, just with that. But I'm like, there's go-karts, ice skating, Jericho's being corny, and Lance is laughing at him. After feeding treats to a bear, Lance fed treats to Jericho. They played skee ball, and Jericho only got 10 points, so he cheated by jumping up and putting all the balls in the high-scoring holes. They then tried to throw snowballs at the cameraman, and from what we can tell, they missed. Okay. We've already dived down the. What was that?
You know who the cameraman was?
Hornet.
It was Cornette, yeah.
Yeah. By the way, Pigeon Forge, Tennessee is where Dollywood is, so it's very possible. Okay, I know we typically try to avoid politics, but we've already gone down, this whole. Okay, I know it's not the same thing. However, Lance Storm, the Canadian citizen who needed to get, papers in order to work in the United States, is wearing a shirt that says ICE on it. I know it's not that ice, but it's still funny. And I noted that Cowboy Chris Jericho looked incredibly uncomfortable on a horse.
Yeah, he did. He has not moved to Cheyenne, Wyoming yet and become a cowboy. Or no, he did. That was way earlier. I was thinking something else. I guess I was thinking of Tracy Smothers.
Why is it always Cheyenne, Wyoming?
I was going to say something, but I think I said it on the podcast before.
What was that?
The most unrealistic thing about the movie Ready to Rumble
is
the world title changing hands in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Yes. And it was before Russo was there. Russo was changing the world title everywhere.
No, this was fucking Titus Sinclair. He sucks.
Yeah.
He looked like Eric Bischoff was trying to be Shawn Michaels.
Which is funny because when that role was originally written, it was supposed to be Bischoff, but then that's when he got pulled out of WCW and he got replaced.
Yeah. It's really obvious that's supposed to be Bischoff.
Yeah. All right. So from the Thrill Seekers, we're going to Down and Dirty with Dutch. Anything else you want to say about the Thrill Seekers?
I feel that I have said enough.
Yes. This is as delightfully corny as, you hear. If you've never seen these, oh boy, we've got at least 2 to go.
Is it half corny or 3/4 corny?
I think right now we're at 3/4 corny.
Okay.
But for full corny, let's go to Down and Dirty with Dutch with Jim Cornette.
Welcome to Down and Dirty with Dutch, the most popular segment on Smoky Mountain Wrestling. I'm Tanya Harding, and I didn't have a dang thing to do with it. Today, my special guest, the Smoky Mountain Tag Team Champions, Jim Cornette and the Heavenly Bodies. Now, Jim, a few questions for you today. We're talking about some big events coming up in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Of course, Golden Week coming up. But let me ask you about that one match, the Marathon 60-minute match against the Rock and Roll. Your comments, please.
You see, the Rock and Roll Express have fallen into a trap that a lot of people have fallen into before with my tag teams. They think that they can wear them down just by sheer persistence. But I got news for you, Morton Gibson. Nothing could be further from the truth. Absolutely. Because Tom Pritchard and Jimmy Del Rey are finally honed. They're finally conditioned, and they can go all night, brother, and then some. So that's the rules of the marathon match. One of the matches at Golden Week 94 will be the marathon match. It's got to go an hour. It's got to go 60 long, grueling, miserable minutes, Rock and Roll. And during the end of that time, when the final bell rings and 60 minutes has elapsed, then they're going to total up all the falls that each team has won. Shouldn't take long for the Rock and Rolls. And whoever wins the most falls in that 60 minutes, brother, is going to win the match and is going to either retain or become the Smoky Mountain Tag Team Champions. Now, I'm betting on the Heavenly Bodies, and I know there's been a lot of betting going on around here lately, but in this case, you can put the farm on it because they can do an hour, and they can do it better than anybody alive, right, Doc?
As a matter of fact, when you guys wanted to go an hour, we welcome the fact to show everybody here in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, from the fans to the officials, that we are the true champions, that not only can we go an hour, but we can go an hour and beat you guys.
And as a matter of fact, I just want the Gigolo to tell everybody that the only time he's gone 60 minutes this week, right, Gigolo?
Oh, you're exactly right. I am definitely a 60-minute man, if you know what I mean, cuz I see him. You can go 60 minutes too,
I could get in there, and I could wrestle the Rock and Roll Express for 60 minutes in that marathon match, but I'm not going to, because I got Armstrong, I got all these other problems on me.
Okay, there you heard it. Wait a minute, Jimmy.
What?
I think I would be remiss in my journalistic duties. Let me ask you one question before you go, if you don't mind.
Okay,
one question.
Go ahead.
A new team coming to Smoky Mountain Wrestling. They're called the Thrill Seekers, Lance Storm and Chris Jericho. What do you know about them, and how do you think you're going to stack up?
No comment right now on that, Dutch. We'll see you later.
Whoa. There you heard it, fans. No comment from Jim Cornette. A lot to say about the marathon match, but no comment on the new team coming to Smoky Mountain, the Thrill Seekers. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Shut up, you morons!
Surprisingly, telling the fans to shut up does not work, Trey.
I I have never seen it work once, and I've seen it tried a
I,
million times.
I mean, you've told me to shut up, and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Um, so Cornette was talking about the marathon match, and for some reason, I decided to look up more about the Hornet because I'd forgotten he was here a couple of weeks ago or a couple of months ago, actually. Especially because the way they were reacting to him at the beginning, I'm like, okay, is this his debut? But no, it wasn't his debut. Uh, but yeah, so I spoiler alert, this feud is coming to an end, and it's not quite Chris Adams versus Jimmy Garvin. It's not quite Freebirds versus the Von Erichs, but I'm ready to move on to a new feud for the tag titles.
Are you saying that you've seen enough Heavenly Bodies Rock and Roll Express?
I mean, I think it's like we're getting to the point where if they were going to go much longer, that it's too much. But and we'll talk about the end of this show, but like I'll be honest, I didn't really get into the angle at the end of this week's show. Um, and I think it's because again, I know it's now Jimmy Del Rey instead of Stan Lane, but we've been watching these two teams wrestle for well over a year and a half at this point.
We are not terribly far from Tom and Jimmy uh going to the WWF
Yeah,
full time, are we?
no, not at all. That is coming up. I'm pretty sure the beginning of April
Mm.
is it.
They have an All Japan tour in May that I assume they had already agreed on beforehand.
Oh yeah. Plus, I mean, no. Who? Oh no, it wouldn't have been All Japan. Never mind. I was gonna say, who did the WWF run that Japanese house show tour with in May of '94? But I mean, that probably would have been War.
Yeah, yeah, they always did. Yeah, they always did stuff with Tenryu in Japan in the 90s.
Yeah, yeah. So I thought it was really notable that Dutch asked him about the Thrill Seekers, and Cornette had no comment.
That was interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
I wonder about that.
Now at this point, it's possible that they didn't know that the Heavenly Bodies were going to be finishing up soon. So they may have just been finishing up the Rock and Roll Express feud and moving them on to the Thrill Seekers afterwards. But now it's more like, well, we're getting a long-term build to Night of the Legends.
No, because okay, the Thrill Seekers are gonna work with Well Done, right?
Yes.
And then
And then go to the
I don't
Rock
know.
and Roll Express. Not the Rock and Roll Express, go to the Heavenly Bodies, and that's it, because Jericho never comes
Yeah,
back from the broken arm.
right. So I think in a different world that Jericho doesn't try to do a shooting star press before the show. Um they work with the body, they do the feud with the bodies, and then and Cornette has said essentially either they would turn on the rock and roll, or if somehow they got really over, turn the rock and roll on them, which I can guess. I can guess which one it would have been.
Yeah. I think that is very probable, especially because come August, primetime. Well, I guess primetime Riley does stick around a little bit longer, but I mean, I'm a little surprised. I know we're horribly switching subjects now, but I'm a little surprised primetime Burnley does stay as long as he does because I think he's here till November, just because in August he's the fake Undertaker.
Yeah, I
And
didn't realize that he was still doing Smoky Mountain after, like, when he was already on TV as
yeah,
the Underfaker.
yeah, he's here till like November. Because
Wow.
I'm pretty sure he's here when Cactus Jack has his month in the territory.
Okay, okay. I was trying to think, what did he do between then and the DOA, but I remembered he chokeslams Tommy
EC
Dreamer off a
EC dub,
scaffold through
EC
a bunch
dub,
of tables.
EC dub.
Yeah.
No, Dreamer not isn't it? Doesn't Dreamer knock him off the scaffold through a whole bunch of tables?
Maybe? I don't know. I
pretty
remember.
sure.
It has been a very long time. You might be right. I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure because it's not a choke slam.
Yeah.
Dreamer is punching him and punching him and punching him as he's latching on to the cord that's holding up the scaffold, and then he lets go and drops through all the tables.
Yeah.
I think
I do
Primetime
remember.
Brian Lee choke slammed him off the Eagle's nest through tables.
Maybe. I do remember that is the same show as the Eliminators against the Miracle Violence Connection because Perry Saturn did an elbow drop off of the scaffold onto it. Was it Doc or Gordy?
Yep. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's probably Gordy because Doc couldn't do jobs, I don't think, because wasn't he still in All Japan?
Well, that was the year that he couldn't go to Japan. He got suspended for a year because he got caught with weed at the airport.
I'm pretty sure that's also the same show as the Crucifixion.
Really? Huh.
Yeah. Because unless I've got my timeline wrong, it's the end of October 96.
What is that show? Is it High Incident?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tommy Dreamer takes on Primetime Brian Lee. It's High Incident.
Tune into the Oh My God cast in I don't know, a year and a half.
A year and a half?
I don't know.
How many goddamn episodes do you do a week? Because you're in January of 94, and even if you guys were a little bit more on the ball with the episodes, a year and a half is summer of 95. And
I am not
Incident
looking at a calendar or doing math right now, and I don't know when High Incident is. Is it 96?
Yes.
Or 95?
It's October of 96.
Okay.
October 95 is when they set the fan on fire.
Okay, that may have been after Doc was already back in All Japan, because I think 95 was the year that he got suspended.
Well, he does do a job to Raven in, I think, February 97.
Doc does?
Yeah.
I knew they did Raven and Gordy.
I am 99% sure they do Raven and Doc in February of 97.
Huh.
Maybe I'm completely fucking this up, but I could swear I've seen that. I can see it in my head whether or not I guess it happened on the show. Raven versus Steve Williams. Yeah, there's definitely a match. February 1st, 1987, crossing the line again.
Okay.
Yeah. Alrighty. And now back to I guess I'd ask how the hell we got to Raven versus Dr. Death, but Primetime Brian Lee was on the screen, so it led to us down this rabbit hole. But yeah, when you mentioned there's one other match you remember from High Incident, I knew exactly what you're talking about because I had the Extreme Evolution tape that had that match.
That was not on Extreme Evolution, is it? Is it on Extreme Evolution?
Isn't it?
No, I just watched. I think it's on
one of those.
I think it's on Deep Impact. It's on Deep Impact.
It was on one of those tapes they put out after ECW went out of business, and it's amazing.
I have in the past few months watched Extreme Evolution and Path of Destruction, so it's got to be Deep Impact.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. I had all three, so pardon me for mixing them up. By the way, I think Path of Destruction had that four-way with Jericho, Pitbull 2, Scorpio, and Shane Douglas.
Yeah,
that fucking amazing match. It's possibly the greatest four-way of all time. Just saying. Anyway, while we're down this rabbit hole, let's scoot out of it and go to a promo with Primetime Brian Lee and Tammy Fitch.
All right, fans, with us right now, Primetime Brian Lee, Tammy Fitch. She's a lot calmer than she was last week about this mixed tag match.
I'm still very upset, but I don't know what to do. I don't know what I'm going to do because I have to have a match with Brian, the dirty white boy, and the dirty white girl.
I'm a wrestler.
I'm not a wrestler. I called every single person I could think of in this office, in this company, to try to do something about this match, try to get rid of this match, but they said they can't do anything. So what am I gonna do? I gotta think of something. I have to think of something to do to get rid of this match. I'm gonna find out where she lives. And you know, Brian, can we call up that guy in Oregon that works for that figure skater to come down here and get rid of her for us? Maybe break her leg? What do you think? Do you think we can do it, Brian?
Okay. No. Dutch can get that number. Yeah, I tell you what, Tammy, don't worry about a thing. Chris Candido and myself, we're going to have you training, we're going to have you running, we're going to have her lifting weights. She might even be Miss Olympia. You might not even wrestle. We might have you powerlifting. We might even send you to the Olympics. Matter of fact, we might even have you in the Miss Olympia. So you don't worry about a thing. We're going to take care of it.
Okay, well, Brian, never mind that now. Let's go beat this guy.
Isn't this punk's name Anthony?
Yeah, that's right. All right, let's go to the ring, fam.
Okay, that's like the funniest random ending ever. Isn't this punk's name Anthony? Like, yes.
Yeah.
But like just like a completely random statement. Like, okay, well, whatever.
Anthony Michaels, who
Yes.
who a few weeks from now will be roommates with Chris Jericho at the infamous Smoky Mountain Flophouse.
Yes, because poor Lance went and got married. He done
Yeah.
got hitched. I heard he didn't invite Brian Alvarez to his wedding. Brian invited Lance to his wedding, but not the other way around. And don't give me this, they didn't know each other at the time thing either.
Brian hadn't even started yet, had he?
No.
Newsletter.
No.
He started like 95, right?
Yep, they just did the 30th anniversary.
Yeah.
But yep. So I gotta tell you, I want skits. They said that Primetime Brian Lee and Chris Candido were gonna train Tammy. I want skits.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You know who she needs to practice with? You know who needs to be her sparring partner?
Margie.
Margie.
And then Margie kicks her ass.
Yes.
Oh Lord. We then get Primetime Brian Lee with Tammy Witch with a capital B versus Anthony Michaels. Cardle keeps talking about how Tammy will go back to Wesley. Just pointing out she went to Wellesley, not Westley. I don't even know if Westley is an actual school.
Not
But
that I've heard of.
Primetime won with a top rope knee drop. After the match, he did another top rope knee drop, and I wrote he should have been disqualified. They should have reversed the decision. But instead, Tammy came in, and Primetime had her cover Anthony Michaels, and he made the cover. So unofficially, Tammy Fitch is 2-0 in Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
I wrote another diving knee drop. Horsehead is a dickhead.
Poor Horsehead.
I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny that they put up a chyron for the Smoky Mountain Wrestling School as a graduate of said school is getting his ass kicked.
Well, I mean, they kind of covered that. I mean, in some way they kind of covered it because Cardle's like, well, he needs matches. He needs, time. Like, he's getting in there with the former 2-time Smoky Mountain heavyweight champion, and this is his 5th match ever. It's expected that he's not gonna do very well here.
That's right. Brian Lee is a 2-time Smoky Mountain heavyweight champion.
Yep. CM Punk in his first UFC fight didn't didn't fight George St. Pierre. Might have been.
I mean,
I love Punk,
barely,
but man, he would have gotten his ass kicked.
He barely fought the guy he fought.
Mickey Gall, yes.
Oh, Mickey,
God.
you're so fine. You're so fine. You blow my mind. Hey, have I ever told you my wife's theory about that song?
No, you have not.
Well, listen to the lyrics. Mickey is gay.
I have not ever thought about that.
What's the line? I'll do anything you want. I'll take it like a man.
I gotta say, your wife may be the first person to look that deep into that song.
You know, I told you over chat, but my wife is a fan of you just based on me reading snippets of our conversations to her.
I appreciate that. Hopefully, she never listens to this podcast, though.
She will not. Don't worry. She will never listen to the podcast.
Well, she might still be a fan of me. She just may not be a fan of you.
What have I ever said on this podcast that I probably also didn't tell her right after?
I don't know. You may find this hard to believe, but I don't spend a lot of time thinking about what you and your wife talk about.
She knows about Margie. She knows about the dirty white girl. She knows all of it.
Okay. Let me see here. So the only thing I could find was a critical reception by rock critic Robert Reistgau commented on the perceived obscene content of the lyric, "So come on and give it to me any way you can, any way you want to do it, I'll take it like a man." Christgau wrote in a review at the time that Basil was the only woman ever to offer to take it up the ass on Top 40 radio. Basil has adamantly denied that the song is about anal sex, stating, "No, that's ridiculous." The always reliable Wikipedia did not go into detail about what it was about.
It's not about that. It's just a mention. It's about her having the hots for this guy who's not interested because he plays for the other team.
Oh Lord. So apparently the cheerleader uniform she wore in the music video was her actual cheerleading uniform from high school. In case you're curious.
When the listener reads the description of this podcast and sees that we analyze the song Mickey by Toni Basil, they're going to be very confused.
Yes, because this is the one time our listeners are going to be confused by anything we do on this show.
That's fair. That's fair.
Dirty White Boy is staring a hole at me through my computer, so let's go to the Dirty White Boy and Trey's girlfriend to cut a promo about their upcoming mixed tag match.
There's with us now the Dirty White Boy, Dirty White Girl. You saw Tammy Fitch get a win there just a moment ago.
Well, you know, it's real easy for somebody to get the 3 count when they got somebody else knocking the people out. You know, it's really a joke. Somebody comes up, knocks somebody out. Oh, ain't I so pretty? I got 1, 2, 3. Oh, boy! Well, it ain't gonna happen. You know, I heard that you were in training. Well, darling, you're gonna need to go in some heavy duty training because, you know, the white girl's in training. Not that she needs to be, but she is in training. And it's going to be an entirely different story when we're both standing in the ring looking eyeball to eyeball and we're conscious. Then we're going to see what takes place. What, girl?
You know, all this is fixing to come to a screeching halt because I am sick and tired of being humiliated over and over and over again. And when you step in that ring and you're looking eyeball to eyeball at me, honey, I'm going to throw a right that's going to rip your skull completely off your head. I promise you that.
So all you 2 geeks has got to do is show up and we're going to beat your stinking brains out, and there is nothing on the face of God's green earth you can do about it because you see who's holding the gold. Let's rock and roll, baby.
Can't wait to see that one, fans.
All right. I popped for White Boy's impression of Tammy.
Tremendous. Tremendous. Yes. Perfect.
Where has babyface White Boy been all my life?
I love it.
But Trey, I got a problem with your girlfriend here. Baby faces are not supposed to make promises that they can't keep. She has promised to throw a right that knocks Tammy's head off her shoulders. And we haven't watched this match. I don't know if they air any of it, but I'm fairly confident Tammy's head does not come off her shoulders.
Okay. I have to say, in her defense, as a white trash redneck woman, it is her right to make unrealistic threats about people she's threatening to fight.
So it's okay for her to do that, but it's not okay for, for Tammy to do it, for instance.
She went to a very fine university. She should know better.
And what was the name of that very fine university? Wellesley College.
Wellesley College.
We just said it 5 minutes ago, Trey.
I knew, but I was like, I knew. That's why it was confusing. Why are you asking me about what we just called 5 minutes ago? You think you're gonna stump me? Oh, because we just talked about my short-term memory. That's valid. Yeah. Good try.
This is did you ever watch Scrubs?
A little bit.
Do you remember that episode, or did you see that episode where the janitor was telling JD that he didn't know who anyone's name was? And just to prove it, he asked him, they showed a couple of people. They showed Snoop Dogg attending. They showed Colonel Doctor, and then they showed Dr. Beardface. And he's like, okay, I know this. I know it's not Beard Face. And then he's like, it's Dr. Goatee Face. And everyone's like, it's Beard Face. I guarantee, Trey, this is going to be the only podcast, the only wrestling podcast that ever starts talking about the dirty white boy and segues into talking about JD from Scrubs.
I'm not saying we're good. I'm just saying we're unique.
Indeed we are. Indeed we are. Yeah. So from there, we then have promos with Bullet. They showed the Lex Luger promo again. I had written it down. I was ready to play it, but it was the exact same snippet from last week, and they did the same thing later with Jeff Jarrett.
Yep, they sure did.
All right, so from here, let's go to back-to-back promos with Bullet Bob Armstrong and Dick Murdoch. Technically, Bob Caudle is lying to us because he said it'd be all the principles of the 2-on-1 handicap cage match coming up at Golden Week, but no Cornette for a change. But let's go to Bullet Bob and then Dickie Murdoch.
All you folks to spread the word. Old Bob is back with his commissioner hat, and I'm open for business. And the first order of the day was to get rid of that crooked politician that Cornette had bought on the board of directors. I don't know where he is right now, but somewhere he's got a sore fanny, I can tell you that. But he's out of it. Now I was able to accomplish one more thing. Not only am I commissioner again, I can wrestle whenever I want to. Now that tore Jimmy Cornette up. And I'll tell you what else I did. I got him a one-on-one at my family reunion in Marietta, Georgia. But all you folks in the Great Smoky Mountains deserve to see me at least get a part of it after what he did to me and my good friend the Bullet. Now, I wanted him one-on-one, but you know Jim Cornette, he's like that kid on the block that wants to stir everybody up, sit down and laugh and watch everybody have a fight. Everybody gets hurt but him. So he had to get himself apart, and he said, I'll do it if you make it a handicap, all right. There ain't nobody I'm afraid of. So he went out and got Captain Redneck, big man. Well, I ain't afraid of him, but I respect him. But I'll tell you this. I can take the best beating in the country just to get to you one time. Just to let all these people in Smoky Mountain see me lay one on your head just one time, I'll let Dick Murdoch beat me half to death. Because there's one thing for sure and certain, sometime during that match, I'm going to get my hands on you. Like I said, you paid me my debts, now I'm going to pay you your debts like Armstrongs always pay their debts. Bad to the bone, we come in Smoky Mountain. Jimmy Cornette, get ready. Bring your Captain Redneck, brother. I'm going to demote him to a lieutenant when I step on him. Bad to the bone is going to be the new password of the Great Smoky Mountains.
Oh, you know I'm kind of the happiest man on the face of the earth. Because you see, I didn't know that Christmas had come a second time around so quick. I was sitting there in the great state of Texas the other day, and the telephone rang, and guess who it was on the other end? No, this time it wasn't George Bush or Ronald Reagan. It was Mama Cornette.
And you see, Mama Cornette offered me a lot of money to come back to Smoky Mountain Wrestling Productions. Now, Armstrong, you see, she's paying me a tremendous amount of money to protect her little boy, Jimmy. And once I give my word to the Cornettes, you see, you can bank on it. So look over your shoulder, look around the corner, look in your car, look in your closet, see Armstrong, there's no telling where I'm going to show up. Because I promised Mama Cornette that I was going to take care of Jimmy and make sure nothing happens to him. So Armstrong, get every little doubt out of your mind about hurting that boy or laying a finger on him. I'll see you in just a short, near future.
So Bullet Bob, who has made a former board member's fanny red, is now mad that he cannot have a one-on-one cage match with a manager.
Well, I mean,
I gotta say, I think it's, Bullet Bob needs to, let bygones be bygones at this point. He got his revenge on Jimmy. He's come back to the Smoky Mountain now. He's commissioner again. I think they need to shake hands, let bygones be bygones.
I was gonna say that this feud will never end, but as you and I discussed earlier this week, I was listening to a 1995 episode of Between the Sheets, and I heard a clip, and something even fucking weirder happens.
Oh yeah. Well, it gets worse from there, believe it or not.
Anyway, I was offering Dick Murdoch a contract on my pro wrestling sim game because I had an idea as he was talking.
An idea to bring him in every couple months as a bounty hunter to take out Bullet Bob Armstrong?
Not quite, no.
See, I assume that, you brought in Bullet Bob to be the WCW commissioner, and you're just going to replay this angle throughout WCW now.
It it does involve the character that I decided to make the commissioner of WCW, so
who's the commissioner of WCW?
Right. Dusty Rhodes.
Okay, Dusty Rhodes, daddy. You have it in public, if you will.
All right, so how much time do we have time to burn talking about stupid bullshit? This is that podcast, right? What else will this podcast be?
all we got left is a Daryl Van Horne promo and then the 6-man main event.
Okay, so you and I have discussed my plan in my 1992 WCW game is to bring in Terry Funk and have him run as a top heel. So I was thinking, okay, I have the Dirty White Boy, and I was thinking, well, what if Terry Funk actually finds a few good men and the Dirty White Boy and somebody, and you recommended Buddy Landell, which was a great idea, but then I offered Buddy a deal, and the next day he signed with the WWF instead. So I thought, okay, do Murdoch and the Dirty White Boy as Terry's henchmen for a while, and then eventually Murdoch gets to, hey, motherfucker, you ain't the boss of me, and we switch Murdoch babyface, and then we do Terry Funk and the Dirty White Boy against the Texas Outlaws.
That's kind of, didn't they do that with in like '88 when it was around the time they brought in the Sheik for that one match in Detroit that Sabu then claimed that Jim Ross owed him like $100,000 off of.
I don't know. I don't remember the story.
They did something where like Dick Murdoch was a heel, and then he turned babyface a team with Dusty, and I think it was around the time they brought in the Sheik to pop a house in Detroit. And somehow Sabu got into his head that Jim Ross owed the Sheik $100,000.
Okay, so did they ever do the Murdoch and Dusty thing?
I think so.
Oh, well, maybe I shouldn't do it. It was done in the same company 4 years ago.
Okay. So since we're talking about this and your Few Good Men angle, you asked me, well, now who gets the spot I had for Budge Row? And I wrote PTBL. Now, admittedly, you don't know all the shorthand that I use for everybody on this fucking show because it gets annoying writing Primetime Brian Lee over and over and over and over and over again. I wrote PTBL. You didn't know at first who I was talking about and thought that I may have been saying Dick Slater.
No.
Well, that's how it reads. I said PTBL. You said question mark. I wrote Primetime Brian Lee at the same time. You said Dick Slater. You're like, oh. So it reads like you thought I said Dick Slater when I said PTBL. And when I told you, you were like, oh.
Okay. Oh. No. I'm sorry. No. That was just a miscommunication. I meant like Dick Slater question mark. Is it like, should I use Dick Slater for that role? It had nothing to do with the PTBL. It was a separate train of thought.
Well, that's what it read like when I'm reading it.
I'm sorry. I see it now. I see it now. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Because, yeah, I was waiting like all day to ask you about that one. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? Speaking of what the hell is wrong with you, have you seen what's been coming out from Reddit? I think it's today. I've seen it now twice today. This is in the Tampa Reddit, originally posted by Honcho Poncho 824. I really just said that on this podcast. Question on Reddit. Does Ric Flair keep coming to your restaurant and shitting himself?
I did see that. Has anything else come out about it?
No, I've only ever seen this screenshot. Man has shit himself like 6 times this year, drunk as fuck at bars and other restaurants. He gets thrown out of Water Street places all the time. Anybody in the service industry having to deal with this shit too.
I did see that. Oh, that's fucking. Oh, I need to know more. Like, I need. Is this just something that somebody thought would be funny to fucking randomly pick up, or is Ric Flair going about the city of Tampa shitting himself in different eating establishments?
So why is he even in Tampa anyway? That's where he live?
Where does I don't know. A lot of wrestlers live in Tampa. I know he was in Atlanta at one point, but I don't know where he's living these days.
I just assume he lives in Charlotte, but
I think he moved to Atlanta. He moved to Atlanta several years ago, but he may have moved back to Charlotte since then. I don't know.
I don't know. Apparently, it must have been taken off the Tampa Reddit too, because somebody tried reposting it on the Squared Circle Reddit, and that got taken down too. So it looks like it keeps being deleted. So take it with a grain of salt, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
Ringsidenews.com does post it. But yeah, nobody's posting any responses. They just keep talking about that. All right. So we go from Ric Flair shitting himself in Tampa to Daryl Van Horne, which is a very convenient segue here. Let's go to Daryl. Yes, because Daryl Van Horne manages Prince Karis, who's wrapped in toilet paper. There you go.
Okay.
Segue. Let's go to Daryl now.
All right, fans, with us right now here is Mr. Daryl Van Horne. And I tell you, he has I don't know, I started to say a wrestler, a man, I don't know what it is, but it's the Mummy. And he's been making some great hay right through Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
That's exactly right, Bob Caudle. You know, I was off television last week. My professor, R. Bay, summoned me to the Carpathian Mountains, where I gave a week-long seminar on torture methods of the Inquisition and advanced sadomasochism techniques. Now, when I came back, I looked in my mailbox and had a letter from the Smoky Mountain Board of Directors, and do you know what it said? It said, once again, that Prince Karras has been denied a championship match here. Now, I don't understand what's going on. Actually, come to think of it, I think I do. There has been a conspiracy against Prince Karras and myself since we showed up in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. He has devoured everybody that's been thrown in his path, yet still he's not given the respect due an Egyptian prince. They're discriminating against him. You take a look at everybody else out here. They're on television as long as they want. Cornette, Tammy Fitch, as long as they want. They need to change the name of this to the PTL Club because it's turned into the Jim and Tammy Show. Admittedly, they're great managers, but what have they done next to me? Win some championship belts? What are championship belts? Mere baubles, jewels. I'll tell you what. I raised Prince Karras from a 3,000-year slumber. That's right up there with parting the Red Sea, turning water into wine. You think you can stop me? You think you can deny Prince Karras access? Fine, go ahead and think that. In the weeks to come, I'm bringing more people in here. More lost souls to the Smoky Mountain Wrestling who follow me like rats behind the Pied Piper. And the trail of slaughter is going to be long and ugly.
Woo! All right, fans, let's go to the ring. We're ready with six-man action.
I gotta say, I think Cottle's having a bad week. He's just been like making the space on like every promo that we've been doing, and he's like, "Woo, let's go to the ring." I think he's happy this hour of interviews is over.
Poor Bob. Does Daryl Van Horne bring in anybody else? Does he manage anybody else besides Prince Karras?
I no, because I think that might have been the plan, but then he gets himself fired right after Prince Karras gets himself fired.
He's gonna make a ill-timed phone call soon.
Yes, he is. Well, like 2 months soon, because spoiler alert: Prince Karras is gonna have a feud with White Boy.
Fuck. But anyway, Daryl Van Horne's promos continue to be ridiculous, and I continue to love them. And I don't know if I'm the only one, but it's like because I know I grew up in a fucking rural redneck ass place. I know how fucking confused those people are by his promos.
I was going to say, I guarantee you there's not a single person in that high school who knew what the hell he was talking about. And I'm not just talking about the people in the stands.
It is very funny to me in particular. Like, this is...
Yes.
He cut these promos for me to watch 30 years later.
Oh, Lord. So we go from that straight to our main event, six-man tag team action, Heavenly Bodies and Killer Kyle versus The Rock, Roll Express, and Bobby Blaze. And I hope everyone is sitting down. Trae, are you sitting down?
I am.
The Rock and Roll Express and the Heavenly Bodies work really well together.
What do I always say about six-man tags?
It's nearly impossible to fuck them up.
Pretty hard to fuck up a six-man tag. This was very enjoyable. Fucking Jimmy Del Rey just randomly hits a Splash Mountain on Bobby Blaze. Of course, my scumbag is watching his JWP tapes.
Yep, a sit-out Splash Mountain bomb too.
No, that's a Splash Mountain. Yeah, it's a sit-out crucifix bomb.
I've heard people refer to the Razor's Edge as Splash Mountain. So I just wanted to make sure if there's anybody. Well, in
the
case
Razor's
anybody's
Edge,
out.
Okay.
Yep. Go ahead.
The Razor's Edge is a crucifix bomb. The Splash Mountain is a sit-out crucifix bomb. And then the move that often gets called the Splash Mountain, which is the Splash Mountain, the Avalanche style, that is Die Hard Kansai.
Well, just in case anybody out there was thinking that he did the Razor's Edge, no, he did. He sat out.
This was not Scott Hall. This was Dynamite Kansai.
So I wrote JDR gave Blaze a Splash Mountain sit-out powerbomb. Morton got the hot tag, by the way, which no is not a mistype. Ricky Morton got the hot tag, and alarmingly, Ricky Morton can do a hot tag pretty well too.
Well, yeah.
And then Rock and Roll both pinned Killer Kyle with a double drop kick. I don't even know if Killer Kyle was the legal man in the ring. Not that it matters at this point. At least unlike in TNA, we didn't have the referee manhandling one of the baby faces into the corner while allowing 3-on-1 nonstop on the heel side. And then having people who weren't the legal people in the match pinning each other.
Yeah, could be worse.
So after the match, we got an angle. And I mentioned this earlier that I wasn't that into it. I think it's because we've just had so many Rock and Roll Express Heavenly Bodies angles that it just felt unnecessary. But after the match, we got a 4-on-2 because they deposed Bobby Blaze out of the ring. And it really was a 4-on-1 because they hung up Ricky Morton in the tree of, or Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson in the tree of woe. And it was pretty much a 4-on-1 beatdown on Ricky Morton. And he was wearing the literal definition of the Crimson Mask. And
yeah,
they sent the Job Squad out. They sent El Hijo del Santo. And then my exact phraseology, oh, for fuck's sake, Pat Rose ran in and got laid out. Yes, the same Pat Rose who was on Mid-South this week, World Class this week, is now on Smoky Mountain this week. And you had told me, you had told me there's something coming up at the end of the show that you're waiting for my reaction. And I didn't know what you were talking about. You mentioned it was going to be a jobber who this is his only TV taping. And I'm like, okay. And I don't know why I did not even like Pat Rose did not even come into my head. But like I also couldn't think of anybody that would have you excited for my reaction. Oh Lord.
This is the one and only Smoky Mountain taping that he works.
I swear, there is a time machine out there somewhere because Cornette knew we'd be talking about Pat Rose this week and made sure to book him for this show.
Did they have to send the new Beat the Champ TV champion out with the Geek Squad?
I mean, did they have to send the old Beat the Champ TV champ out with the Geek Squad? I mean, they sent Robbie Eagle was out there.
Okay, I think I didn't write. I wrote down Larry Santo, Pat Rose, Anthony Michaels, the Hornet, but yeah, I probably missed Robbie Eagle.
Yeah, Robbie Eagle was the last one out. Well, I mean, I guess the last job guy out.
I guess them both being geeks is the point. So whatever.
Yeah. And anyway, the Thugs made the save. White Boy and Tracy Smothers. As I don't know what the hell they were waiting for because they were beating up Ricky Morton forever. Maybe they had a lot of faith in the Job Squad this week.
They were smoking a joint outside.
I knew their eyes were red. So anyway, that's how the show goes off the air. And Trey, what are your thoughts on this angle? Because you've heard my thing that I think it's a little we've had a little bit too much here with Heavenly Bodies and Rock and Roll Express. I didn't think we needed a hardcore angle, and I think having a hardcore angle, like, what's this leading to? This hardcore angle where they're beating up Ricky Morton to the fact that he is bleeding profusely is leading to a 60-minute Iron Man match.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think the disconnect is that I haven't been watching the Heavenly Bodies versus Rock and Roll Express for as long as you have. So it's not wearing on me as much as it is you. Like, I understand it is unnecessary and yeah, whatever.
I mean, I think that's the big thing. It's not even, they're doing another angle. It's like, at this point, you don't need to do another angle. I thought that, and I know what Jimmy's thinking because, he always talks about how when he was booking WCW in 1989, Kevin Sullivan would tell him that, I forget his exact phraseology, but it was like, you need to do a little something on this show. I forget. It's killing me that I can't remember the exact way he phrased it. So I can see that thought process. Well, this is a good maintenance show. Is what Sullivan would say. But we need to add something to it. And I can see that's where he's thinking because, I mean, we didn't really add anything to any other angles on this show.
Yeah, no, you're right. Everything you say is true. I don't know. It was a serviceable show. I understand your feeling that it was unnecessary. I guess it didn't bother. I don't have any complaints about it.
Well, anyway, 109 down, 91 to go. And I forgot to mention this at the beginning. I did make a note. We are down to our last 6 episodes with Bob and Dutch as an announced team. And I know that like Bob Caudle, like especially if you never watched Smoky Mountain, a lot of people give crap to Bob Caudle because like you compare him to Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone. He's not in their league, or Gordon Soley. It's like, but yeah, you put him here with Dutch, and it's like, man, he's a really good announcer. And him and Dutch, they have been the team since episode 1. And it's going to be weird because Dutch is leaving here in about 7 weeks. Now, I know he does it down and dirty from Puerto Rico because he leaves here and goes to Puerto Rico. But he doesn't, he doesn't make it a regular thing.
Yeah, like when I was looking at the Observer last week to find information about those random tag title switches in Michigan, I saw that Dave noted that I think the next taping is Dutch's last.
Yeah. All right. So before we finish things up, we'd like to tell you what else is happening in the world of wrestling. Because, I can tell you February 26, 1994, until I'm blue in the face. But this gives you some context. Hey, this is what's going on at the time. And I say, yes, it is. And the big news this week is the criminal case against Jerry Lawler has officially been settled. Settled February 23rd. At a pretrial hearing, Lawler agreed to plead guilty to harassing a witness, and in return, the prosecutors dropped the 4 counts of statutory rape and sodomy against Lawler.
I guess that's a good deal.
Yeah. I mean, Lawler's the Teflon king, they always say. All these lawsuits just slide off of him. But yeah, this is one of those things that's like, even though by all accounts, I don't think he would have been convicted. It's better to just get it over with. And I mean, I didn't bother to read what his, what he's going to get out of this. But, it's best to just move on and, not have to deal with the what ifs. Because not everybody's
Probably
Vince McMahon and willing to. You probably got some probation,
Yeah.
Well, the other big news that people remember from this time period, the WWF had their Superstars tapings this week. And why is that important? Because it's for the shows that would air after WrestleMania 10.
Oh,
yes.
Those ones.
Yep.
Oh.
This is the one where they taped a dark angle where Jim Cornette was giving Lex Luger shit. So Lex Luger stole the WWF title from Cornette and had Vince come up with a brilliant idea to be introduced as the WWF champion. And so they did, and he came out, announced as the WWF champion. And like, it's so weird because it's like, that had to have been the plan at some point, like leading into WrestleMania. Because it's like, I can't sit here and be like, oh yeah, they did this to fool the sheets. It's like the fucking Observer was read by like 2,000 people at the time. Like, they were not fooling. There was no reason to fool insider wrestling fans.
Okay, so what was the legend that Luger told somebody?
Yeah, that he drunkenly told someone the night before WrestleMania 10 at a bar, like a reporter, that he was going to win. It's like I doubt that it was that decision was made that late. I'm pretty sure, Vince had it in by like a week ahead of time, at least.
I think he knew at the Royal Rumble when they saw the reaction.
Yeah. And I mean, I think like if it wasn't going to be Brett winning it, they would not have had Luger win the coin toss and have him go first. Because like you'd rather have Brett in the Yoko spot, even though that meant Brett would have had to not wrestle Owen. Like Brett would have taken on Yoko. Mm-hmm.
When did they announce that? When did they do the coin toss?
The coin toss was a week after the Rumble. Because
Okay, so
the thing
yeah.
was, whoever won the coin toss would wrestle Yokozuna first, but whoever lost would have to have a match to, make things fair. And Brett's match was against Owen. And I did say this a few weeks ago, but it's easily forgotten trivia. Do you remember who Luger's match would have been against if Brett would have won the coin toss?
Hold on. Let me think.
He is somebody
I
who did have a match at WrestleMania.
hold on. No.
And WrestleMania 10, if that's not, you think I'm just being a smart, like, oh, he's at WrestleMania 15. Like, no.
Okay, I got to guess. Adam Bomb?
Rush.
Okay.
Which
Okay, I thought, but they were doing the Savage and Crush feud in like the fall. Was that not the plan for Crush always?
I'm sure
Oh, of course it was. Duh.
But
They just hadn't
yeah,
announced it yet. Never mind.
yeah,
Never
yeah.
mind.
But also Luger and Crush, like I can't sit here and tell you details, but I know Luger and Crush had a little bit of a thing going on TV. So it wasn't as completely out of left field as it might seem that they might do Luger versus Crush at WrestleMania. But
Yeah.
needless to say, it worked out for the long run that Lex Luger won the coin toss. And
Yeah.
then some other news, the WWF is not going to renew Jim Ross's contract when it expires at the end of March. This was the famous first time he woke up with Bell's palsy. According to him on his heel promo he did, he woke up on Super Bowl Sunday with Bell's palsy. And they never brought him back on the TV, and now they're going to let his contract go. So it's not quite he got fired, like the story goes, but yeah,
Well, their loss is our gain.
Yes, it is, because spoiler alert, good old JR at some point is on his way in. I don't think it's actually till the end of '94 because Hoddle is here well into the Gangsters run. Because it's like I think that's part of the reason why he left too, because he was not a fan of the Gangsters gimmick and angle and everything like that.
Yeah. Poor Bob.
Yep. So yeah, that's Smoky Mountain episode 109. Anything else you got on the noggin you want to talk about?
I guess.
So I just watched Halloween Havoc 93 the other day, and I guess I didn't really talk to you after this point, but they had a 6-man tag to open the match. And it was Harlem Heat and the Equalizer, Dave Sullivan, versus the Shockmaster, Charlie Norris, and somebody who I'm currently Ice Train, yes. Now, it is Booker T and Stevie Ray, but it is not, 2-3 years down the line, Booker T and Stevie Ray, who are, one of the best tag teams in the US at the time.
This is Kane and Cole.
Yes, this is Kane and Cole Harlem Heat. That match sucked. And this was like the most recent pay-per-view before this was Fall Brawl. And I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be like one shitty ass pay-per-view again. Like I know they do Vader versus Cactus in the main event, but I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be a fucking shit show, isn't it? And no. Okay, you could have cut off that first match and had one of the best shows of the year. Not Super Brawl 3 level, but the rest of that show delivered.
Yeah, so I watched that show recently, and I am looking at my notes. I wrote other than the finish, I wrote one line about this match. And okay, I am referring not to the quality of the match. I am referring to the randomness of the booking. AEW 0 hour ass match.
Oh Lord, I thought you were going to mention that Dave Sullivan is a really nice guy.
I'm sure Evad is a lovely fellow.
I like. I can't believe, and I guess you're going to see it eventually when you get to January '94. I seriously can't believe that they like did not even pretend that these were two different people, that they just flat out said the equalizer is Dave Sullivan, and now
Did the
he's, fucking
Oh,
dyslexic.
I didn't know that. I was wondering how he became Evad.
Yep. Good old Kevin shows up and says that the equalizer is his brother Dave. And then later in the year, like this is the hilarious thing, like Dave's like the equalizer, okay, it was never gonna work out, but the equalizer was supposed to be like, a serious heel. He came in with Paul Orndorff and they were a team, and you see him
Yeah.
here, he's teaming with Harlem Heat, and then in a year he's coming out in a Hulk Hogan bathrobe to the song I Want to Be a Hulkamaniac.
Yeah.
I want to be a Hulkamaniac, have fun with my family and friends.
It's amazing. I have seen that gimmick one time. There is some pay-per-view that I watched on a videotape from like whenever he was Evad, and I heard that song, and I remember the song and the fucking gimmick because it was like, what the fuck is this?
It would have been Halloween Havoc '94. He wrestles Kevin.
Yes, yes, yes. I did. Yeah, I did watch that show once upon a time.
And then, and then, and then Starrcade '94, which, hey, when the Nasty Boys are in the best match on Starrcade, you know you have problems. Starrcade '94, Kevin Sullivan versus Mr. T. Dave interferes dressed like Santa.
I I saw that show. I remember that the main event was a terrible match between Hulk Hogan and the Butcher. And then the only other thing that I remember is Alex Wright versus Jean-Paul Levesque.
Das Wunderkind in a cruiserweight action, by the way.
That was Mr. Levesque's only WCW pay-per-view match, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, he was supposed to. They were going to put him together with Regal in '95, and they were going to get a run with the tag titles. But that's when he instead goes to the WWF, and Bobby Eaton gets a spot, but not the
Yeah.
titles because him and Mr. Regal never got the belts.
There's the story that the last show at Boston Garden, he like fucking flew himself in and offered to work for free just to get on the last Boston Garden show, and that was how he got the job.
Wait, I thought DDP was a mark for doing that. So if DDP is a mark for doing that, and Triple H is not a mark for doing that, I
I
don't
don't
know what to
know.
believe anymore.
Okay, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was he did fly himself there. Maybe he didn't offer to work for free. He did get booked.
To
I
be
may
fair,
be wrong on part of that.
he lived in New Hampshire, so I mean, it's not,
But
you know,
he was working for WCW. He probably lived in Atlanta.
no, because that was part of the reason that he claims anyway that Bischoff didn't want to give him a contract because he lived in New Hampshire and it wasn't easy to fly him in and wanted him to move to Atlanta.
Okay, well, there's something I don't remember the exact story, but there's something to do with the last Boston Garden show and him getting there when he didn't work there.
Hmm. Interesting.
And then I think it was his podcast that Nash said that like when they were all like him and Scott and Sean and Kid were like already together, and he said like they would watch fucking WCW Saturday Night or whatever the syndicated shows like in the hotels at night, and they like this guy, and then so that's what Kev said, get in the car with us.
Yeah. I heard a story, and I forget if Sean said this or maybe Hunter said it, but it was his first night. He went there, and I forget who he said, but he said someone in WCW told him that they were the guys to hang out with. And they let him in their car because they needed a stooge to drive them around.
Well, hey, I guess to his credit, I've always heard that Mr. Levesque is a teetotaler.
Yes, a teetotaler. Do you remember? I don't know how much Looney Tunes you watched as a kid, but
Fair
do
bit.
you remember there was a Bugs Bunny cartoon where they were playing a baseball game against the teetotalers? I did not get that joke as a kid.
I don't remember, but that's very funny.
Yes. Um, all right. So we've really run the gamut here in an hour and 40 minutes. This is why you listen to us, ladies and gentlemen.
It sure is.
All righty. So before we go, do you have anything else you want to say to our fine listening audience?
No, I want to go see my kitten. Let's go.
All right. Thank you all for listening. Talk to you in 7 days.
Bye.